next up is Mr. Dominik Boesl, and you work for KUKA, if I'm not mistaken, and you're in the lead of innovations within this fantastic concern which is based in Germany. And today you plan to tell something on why do we need robotic and AI governance, an analysis of the social economical implications of robots, robotics, artificial intelligence, but you're going to do something different.
I'm going to extend it a bit. But
you're going to extend it a bit.
Thank you very much. So yeah, first of all, thanks very much for having me. And listening over the last 2 days, and because many people extended a bit the scope of their paper, I also wanted to do the same, because I'm not just want to look at the socio-economic implications of robotics, but actually go on where Rodolphe just took off. So look a bit at what is robotics today, what can robotics do, why do I think it's so important that we educate the general public out there, and you might already know all this, but still I think it's important, and want to shed a bit of light on, well, not just the socio-economic, but also socio-political, socio-cultural implications of robotics. So thanks for the great introduction. What is my daily job? My daily job actually is to read the future. And no matter which tool you're using, an Asian stick oracle or whatever tool you prefer, unfortunately it's not possible. On one hand, but on the other hand, as luckily as I'm in the room with a lot of philosophers, you might know that the idea of fatalism, so to be determined by fate and everything, is something that humans can really barely cope with. This recently changed more or less, because in the medieval ages there was something normal. Somebody put me in the place I am, and here I'm digging. But in our individualist society, people have difficulties with dealing with that. It's also quite interesting, because if you look at it from a computer scientist's point of view, so Turing and all that, imagine the calculus. So imagine that everything can be calculated in the universe. And if we ever reach that state that we have, and getting back to your point about simulation, to get to a simulation that is so profound that I can predict what every molecule in the universe will be doing over the next 2 or 3 hours or so on, and I could actually move forward in time and predict it. But it's something that we really struggle with, because we want to be our own masters and master our future ourselves. So looking into predicting the future, and this is nothing else that we're going to do, because we're currently talking about how is robotics going to affect society. There have been a lot of misconceptions, and I brought you some. I had to, because I love looking into those. So in the 1830s, people believed that humans would die if they ride on a train with 30 miles an hour, because it's so fast that our body couldn't sustain the speed. A little bit later, 1897, somebody at the head of the Royal Society said that radio will just be a trend, so nobody will use that technology. You might now be smiling, but I still hear people saying that about the internet. Then there was he also said the same year, actually, that X-ray is just a party trick and people will just use it for amusement, and that's actually what they used it for at that time. But in the end, it proved to be quite useful. Actually, after that, they pulled him from his job. I don't want to find any causality in that, but I think he was not really good at that. 2 years later in the US, Charles Duell said, everything that can be invented has been invented. We don't have to invest any more money into R&D. And 1936, a lot had been invented by then. The New York Times titled that never will a rocket leave this planet. Today they land again. But you can also extrapolate that to IT. So Thomas Watson, no matter if he really said it or not, there's a bit doubt about it, but he's claimed to have said that there will not be a market for more than 5 desktop computers. I think I see 12 in the room right now. So you can easily be wrong on that. But it's not just technology. So for example, rock and roll was said to only live for 3 months. People that love techno will agree, but I don't know. And well, the latest ones were Bill Gates saying nobody will ever need more than 640 kilobytes, not mega, giga, peta, tera, whatever byte, but kilobytes of main memory. And the revenge came by IBM some years later, who then said whoever is going to pay more than 100 million for Microsoft has to be crazy. Currently, Microsoft is one of the 3 companies battling for the $1 trillion mark. So I think if they could turn back time, they would. Why am I stressing this point so much? Well, because we see a lot of, this is the basic problem with innovation, and it's exactly what you see behind me. This very gentleman in the 1940s developed the first TV glasses. He believed television would be carried out as glasses, and we would watch TV wherever we are, at every moment, and however we like. The only thing I cut off were 2-meter-long antennas. He was running around like a Martian. So he had the first characteristics of an innovation right. He had an invention. Unfortunately, it was not successful, so it never became an innovation. If you're thinking about today, about mixed reality, augmented reality, again about simulations, then you see that we're actually back at that idea, and just 18 years later, basically. And I still hope that one day I will set up these glasses or put up these glasses and just know who you are. You see your LinkedIn, your Twitter, your Facebook profile, and all that. All the privacy concerned people will start yelling like, "No, oh my God!" But still. So you can have the right idea, but maybe sometimes at the wrong point in time. So what we mostly see is actually incremental innovation, things getting a little bit better. By the way, this is the innovation of the washing machine since 1954. I just see that they switched from a top to a front loader, but I'm sure if you're in the industry, that is breathtaking. What most people are hunting for is, though, this disruptive innovation, something that is as unprecedented as the wheel, electricity, the car, internet, trains, whatever. But I can tell you they cannot be planned. And that is exactly the problem of today, because all the companies, all the corporations expect that you can plan disruption. Think about the fourth industrial revolution. People are also trying to plan the next industrial revolution, but it is not possible. You only can see it in retrospect. So like with the car, you know, like would you have invested? Cars actually were carts without horses. They moved at 3 kilometers an hour. Somebody in the UK at least had to walk in front with a red flag because he didn't know whether they're moving this way or that way. That was not a good technology in the beginning, but now it's the backbone of our logistics, one of the 3 backbones of our globalized world and the basics for logistics. But what can you say about the future? Well, you can extrapolate megatrends. This nice-looking gentleman behind me is John Nesbitt. John Nesbitt wrote a book in 1982, which I fully love. He coined the notion of megatrends, and he was talking in 1982 about the world of 2010. And I can, sorry, spoiler alert, I can tell you he was right. He was predicting the information age without the internet, and he did a lot of other great predictions. So I'm not going to go too much into detail about those, but those are the current set of megatrends that you find all over. And those megatrends basically, well, a megatrend basically is something that will buck or challenge or affect humanity for the next 25 years and on a global scale. So it has to really have global impact and live at least 20 to 25 years. And as you're seeing, some sound more familiar, some others not. But with some you might be in doubt. I am actually as well. But those are the ones that, and we did an analysis of 21 megatrend studies that you can condense out of that. And interestingly, you can sum them up with that one. We're basically living in the Anthropocene, in the human-made age. It's no longer dinosaurs, rocks, metals, or whatever that define the history of this planet, but it's humans. And if you look in the literature, then basically it started 140 years ago with the first industrial revolution, and an ever faster getting technological evolution is now shaping the world. And we have to think about how we deal with that. And what, first of all, digitalization did, and what we're now going to do with automation. And I think we have to take responsibility, especially the companies and corporations out there, but not just them, also academia and research. What is the most important megatrend right now for a company? Well, for us at least, it's demographic change, and I can explain you why. So as I said, we compared 21 megatrend studies. I don't want to bore you too much with that today, but it's really, if you look into that, then you see demographic change, individualization, urbanization, and the technology itself, so the technologization of the world, is basically, or are basically the most important ones. And why is the overaging society of demographic change so important? Well, in 2 years of time, more than half of Germany will be older than 50 years. And it's not just a German thing, because now you could say like, well, it's a great first world problem or challenge. No, it's not. According to the United Nations, in 2045, this will have propagated around the globe, and we're running actually out of human labor. I have numbers from Volkswagen, they're currently published. Volkswagen says in 2030, from 200,000 employees they're having, 30,000 will have retired. They're not going to find them anywhere on the globe on the job market, so 170,000 people have to do the job of 200,000. It's actually no longer a question, even with the German unions and even with the workers' councils, that we have to automate. We do. The question is just how do we automate and what does it mean? So because it's no longer to replace humans, it's to augment and enhance and extend humans. Because the other thing that is going to happen, if we're running out of human labor, that means we have to work longer. So basically I expect myself, if I make it, I will have to work till I'm 70 or 75. But we don't want to get from work to the retirement home. What we want to do is we want to live healthy, active, and mobile lives after that. The good news is that the same study from the United Nations and OECD claims that by that time frame, 2045, the average life expectancy in the first world will be 92.4 years. So we will have to face, or we can face, another 30 to 40 active years. But the other part of that is we have to support people in their job. Because what are people good at? Exactly what machines cannot do. We carry creativity, all those fuzzy in-between nodes, everything that is non-binary, experience, gut feeling, intelligence, and those things that cannot yet, or maybe never, can never evolve from technology. And yeah, I know machine learning is going to save us all, but still I'm a bit skeptical on that. But in the end, what is happening is that we have to think of new ways to automate. So how is the future of automation going to look like? Well, we believe in 4 robotic revolutions. There is also a IEEE index paper on that. So the first revolution actually happened. It was industrial automation. It's what we have been doing for 50, 60 years. So I brought you a video for that. So if you're looking into that, that is the first manufacturing line of Ford. Ford did something completely unprecedented. He could produce a car in 91 minutes. What you see behind me is a modern factory. Okay, that's Jake, that's something else. But what you see behind me is the factory where the body in white for the Jeep Wrangler is produced. And actually, today we do what Ford did in 91 minutes in 71 seconds. Every 71 seconds we can produce a body in white for a car. We have even customers aiming for 60 or 40 seconds. So, but what you also see is that those robots live in cages. They are big, they're dangerous, they're potentially dangerous, they're fast, they're accurate, but they are not assistants for at home. They're not robots that go in to support people. Those were robots that were actually working alongside people. Now we have technological advancements, so sensors got better, and we're definitely not the only company. It's more a paradigm shift towards sensitive and safe robots. So basically, the robot was encaged, taken out of this robot zoo, and now we have robots that can interact with people. So this robot can feel its way, it has sensors, if it collides with someone, it stops, and that means it can do applications like this. So I brought you a Bavarian application. It can, for example, pour beers, screw in screws, massage people, whatever you want to do in direct contact with people. We have been talking about regulation before. So yes, a big challenge was regulation, because up till April last year, robots were not allowed to touch a person. Although even if they were safe, they were not allowed to touch a human being. Now the regulation was changed, and so we can think of solutions how to work directly with humans. The third revolution, though, is going to be when those systems become mobile, because right now they're still bolted to the floor, and this is still not what I'm thinking about when I think about service robotics. So also there are solutions for that. But what is going to be the fourth revolution? Well, when those machines finally become smart. Because I don't want to program a robot line by line by line. I want a robot apprentice. I want to tell the robot actually I'm thirsty, and you should drive out there or walk out there or however it's moving, fly out there and get me something to drink. So basically what I'm dreaming of is the love of my life, Jetson's Rosie, the robot housekeeper. And yeah, well, you see this model still had some issues there, but in matter of factly, this is where we're hinting at. And yeah, okay, a little bit advertisement at that point. We also produced our first consumer robotics prototype. My team was responsible for that, and I'm only showing you because I know how hard it is to come up with something. So this one took a selfie of our chancellor in Germany. And we didn't run her over, which I'm happy about. But in the end, it is really hard, technologically even, to come up with a solution of a robot that is providing enough added value to work around humans. And I'm not talking about smart yet. And you all know that, because one of the most important technological triggers you're all carrying in your pocket, your smartphone. This smartphone has more calculating power than the whole Apollo 11 mission. Not the capsule, not the ground control, but the whole mission. The thing though is, you all know we're not there yet. Try to order a pizza to this very room with the voice control system of your choice, then you're putting your phone away again, and you're happy that nobody has ever built that into a robot yet. Because we're simply not there yet. But we're facing also other challenges. And one of the most recent ones was this one. It gave me a sleepless night, because the question, what is a robot? So also reaching a bit into ontologies, because what happened was, this was the Financial Times, Satya Nadella, CEO of Microsoft, on why robots are the future of work. I got a call from my CEO at 6 a.m. in the morning asking me why Microsoft is now going to entering the market of robotics. First of all, I was shocked, and well, he threw me out of bed and all that. And but later on, I was actually researching. I got from a former colleague the video of that conference. Satya Nadella never talked about robotics in the physical form. He was talking about chatbots. But what the media then did is they confirmed that they converted that into robot. So our interpretation of robot is a physical entity. So it is really hard right now, and we experienced that also in the European Parliament and European Commission. If we're talking robots, I think many of you in the room might have a different idea of what a robot is. And this is the fundamental problem, and this has to be solved, and I think we should at least address this. I don't say that we all should just talk about software or just about hardware, but at least we should work, as you just so perfectly did, on our vocabulary. We should ask, what are we talking about, especially in those contexts, if it's about regulation, if it's about impact on humans and on society. So in the sake of time, because I have a lot of videos, I'm gonna skip 2 or 3 of those. But I want to jump into something that you haven't seen this week yet, into different forms of robots. So you've seen on industrial robots, you haven't seen mobile robots, but this is also robotics, how it exists. The only thing is, again, like with Sophia, so this is the Geminoid of Hiroshi Ishiguro, and Hiroshi Sensei is actually of the belief that technology will be the next step of human evolution. The only part is that this robot is as smart as Sophia. Not at all. It is just a better, well, Alexa, Siri, Cortana, or however you want to call it. But people still believe that this is there. The same thing with that, and you might have seen this as well. This is the first version of, sorry for that, an adult entertainment robot. So this is a robot that should please people. It is currently not. It is also not available yet, but, and no worries, I took a National Geographic interview on that because it only contains clean images. But the interesting part here is more also the ethical question about what happens if some parts of society are reduced to just interaction, or physical interaction with robots. Because already today in Japan, you see that some people leave home at 4 a.m., travel 3 hours to work the night till 10 o'clock, travel 3 hours back, at home at 1 o'clock. They don't have time for a human relationship. They're already engaging into dolls and other things too, and not really just meet their sexual needs, but really find companionship in all this. What if we come up with robotic solutions that address those needs, and we basically split up society into two groups, those that can afford human interaction and those that can't? I think this is pretty dystopian to me. So, but still people believe that this is there, and also that the Terminator is around the corner. And yeah, you've seen this video before, but I always love to show it again, because it exactly shows where we're at. So I don't know if, who of you knows the movie Zombieland? I know it. So there are these, yeah, some of you raised their hands, thank you. There are those rules, and one is always run faster. So good news for you, many of you will survive the robocalypse. Bad news for me, I might not. But on the other hand, what is, you have to outrun those systems because they usually have battery power for 15 minutes. If you can run 60 minutes, you're safe. And this is not what the general public out there knows. So I know I'm close to running out of time. Just let me sum this up. I do seriously believe that the future of robotics has already started. It is there. It will be equally as disruptive as the digitalization of the world, because now we're going to automate the world. Software and artificial intelligence will be key. It's no longer just mechanics, it's mechatronics. But I don't hold it with Bill Gates, because Bill Gates once said, a robot in every home by 2025. And as long as you're not just talking vacuum cleaners, I think he's... there. I think he's simply not right, because general multi-purpose robots will take a little longer, let's say 2040, 2050, something like that, but they will arrive. What I do know is that robotics and automation is going to permeate all areas of the living realm. And so our grandchildren will grow up in daily contact with those technologies. That means that the first generation are of robotic natives. You know what we are? Robotic immigrants with very analog migration background, but we are going to see the shift in our lifetime, and they are going to grow up with it. And I'm very happy that Canon actually provided the first proof of that, because this is a fully automatic flashlight. So if you take a picture with that flash, it scans the room, it orients itself, and it takes a perfect picture. So this is how automation in the future is going to look like. It's not going just to be robots. It will be robot furniture. It will be, I don't know, self-driving cars, drone deliveries, human-robot collaboration, and one day, again, love of my life, Jetson's Rosie. But we have to be careful, because tampering with new and disruptive technologies always means that there is potential for danger. And well, you know that when Oppenheimer was working on the Manhattan Project, he was said to love the power that he unleashed. But actually, after he saw the effects of the first A-bomb, he said this: "Now I become death, the destroyer of worlds." It's a citation from the Hindu scripture, the Bhagavad Gita, and he was afraid. He was actually in tears. I don't want to be a doomsday prophet, but to put it with Goethe, who said, "The spirits I've cast, my commands ignore." We shouldn't be tampering, or we should at least think about what we're tampering with. And there are other people, and I'm going to spare you the video now because we had the citation already yesterday, but Stephen Hawking said that humans will be superseded by artificial intelligence. I humbly disagree, but what I see out there is neo-wise men like Gates, Hawking, Musk, they stoke fear in the general public because they tell them that this is bad technology. And it's not. We just have to think about the effects. And to avoid the Terminator and come up with Jetson's Rosie, I believe we need something that I like to call robotic governance. Governance frameworks in order not to hard regulate, but to soft regulate and to discuss the impact of robotics and automation. So, 3 more slides. We need frameworks for that. And why do I believe that those work? Actually, the scores-based frameworks, because they also do with green IT, they do with child labor and all that. But that means we have to change the way we're thinking. It's not just a political task, because if you make it a political task, one of two things will happen. Either overregulation, which inhibits innovation, or in some case under-regulation, because nobody wants to touch it. It's a boo-boo topic. And that boo-boo topic actually leads to the fact that companies and research can do whatever they want. And you know the saying, oh, somewhere on the planet it's always going to be done. Yeah, sure. But at least we have to think about it. We have to find the frameworks for that. For that, we have to involve all stakeholders, public, government, unions, industry, research, academia, people from the streets, my mom and dad maybe. Actually, they're the biggest critics. They told me if I ever get them a robot with a head, they're going to throw it in the garden to rot. So I think this is an approach that we should take, and that would be the first steps, because then we can actually negotiate a common consensus, like with the discussion about autonomous warfare. There are some basic concepts that, and we heard that today already, that people can agree upon what we want to see, what we don't want to see. And we're currently working on a Robot Manifesto, so we kicked that off at the European Robotics Forum, so we want to come up, and sorry, I'm a computer scientist, it has to be a prime number, with the 7, 11, 13, whatever rules of robotics. I have a lot of companies that already said they would be willing to sign something like that, but they don't want it to be so populistic, and I hope we're still getting into the panel of ban autonomous warfare, yes or no. No, it shouldn't be like that, but it should at least provide an ethical code of conduct, so the common baseline of industry and academia that we can agree upon. I know this is ambitious. I know there are a lot of people who have already started working on similar things. Actually, I tried to talk to many of those. And for those of you who say this is never going to work because it's too idealistic, well, you can tie it to economic metrics. So, for example, I had a great discussion with Stanley & Poor's about those who run the Dow Jones indices, and they were open to the concept to tie governance frameworks to indices. So if you want to be listed in an index, you have to comply to the governance codex. If not, you're not going to be traded. And that could actually be something how you raise opportunity costs and incentivize and not threaten or drive or force companies into doing good technology. Sorry for running, I think, 5 minutes and 51 seconds over. Thanks a lot for your attention. I hope there was something in there. I hope we can do 2 or 3 questions. Otherwise, we're going to be here tonight. And yeah, thanks for having me again.
2 or 3 questions would be okay.